Welcome to 30-Day Real Estate. We're going to talk about getting buyers all the time. If you're not getting at least one quality buyer per week, you're definitely doing it wrong. So, what you're going to get out of this module, you're going to be pushed out of your comfort zone to get in front of ready and willing buyers on a weekly basis. You'll also be shown some marketing best practices to ensure that you have many people coming through your open houses. You also learn how to leverage technology so you can bring down your potential clients' walls and land them as clients. And lastly, you will put a potential client through pre-qual and be shopping with them for houses within 30 days of implementing this program. At the end of this module, you're going to know how to leverage fellow agents to get open houses with a single phone call, set up open houses weeks in advance, market open houses on Trulia, Zillow, and also on the MLS. Use tech to digitally manage your open house. Use Open Home Pro to ask questions you don't need to be asking. Upload, manage, and list your home digitally on Open Home Pro. Map signs out appropriately and where they're needed using Google Maps. Deliver at least 5 points of value to every visitor. Ask appropriate questions that land buyer clients. Follow up with potential clients for maximal success, and pass people on to your lender for pre-qual, and also set up an MLS search on the spot. So what are some of the facts about open houses? Most agents hate doing open houses, probably because they just don't do them right. But that's good news for you, because as long as they're doing them wrong and you're doing them right, there's a lot of clients that you can put in your pipeline. Most agents don't advertise their open houses in places where over 90% of consumers shop. It's amazing how many agents don't have consumer site logins. And most agents just stand around and ask one question: are you working with an agent? That is the wrong question. If you want to turn off a potential client or get lied to, then ask that question. So what's a perfect open house look like? It's marketed days before digitally on all consumer sites, as well as be broadcast to everyone on your social networks like Facebook. You can put it on Instagram, Google+, whatever you have available. It also has a sign-in table set up at the point of entry for you to direct them to sign in digitally and get a fact sheet taken with them, like a flyer. This will establish a give-to-get situation. You sign in, then you get to see the house. You should know the usual facts about the house off the top of your head. So always know taxes, square feet, beds and baths, year the home was built, school districts, is there a farmer's market, grocery shopping. Don't get caught not showing the value of the home to potential clients. And a perfect open house also has you following up with every person that comes in, whether they have an agent or not. I always ask potential clients to let me be their backup agent if their agent gets too busy to service their needs. So why are most open houses poorly attended? No digital advertising at all. You get out what you put in, and it's free to advertise digitally with a lot of these consumer sites. Bad timing. Do not hold open houses during huge events, or if you're in the Bible Belt during church. Just basically, make sure you don't have it during the wrong time. Bad timing is why they're poorly attended most of the time. Or not enough signage the day of the open house. If you're not putting out 8 to 12 signs leading people to your open house from multiple directions, it's probably going to be poorly attended as well. So let's tackle the technology. You're going to need a couple pieces of tech to bring you up to speed. You're going to need an iPad or Android tablet. I prefer iPads. If you have an Android, it'll work. I prefer iPad just because it's standard platform. It has a lot of apps. Different Android tablets of different platforms, and different apps may or may not work. That's why I prefer iPad. You're going to need Open Home Pro. It allows technology to ask the questions you want answered without you ever having to ask them. And you want the potential client, you don't want the potential client getting their guard up, and this solves that problem. Home flyers. It's not really technology, but you need to have them, and you need to get them printed off professionally. Don't use your own printer to print them off. Take them to Kinko's, get that done. So Zillow, Trulia, Home Finder, you're going to need, your logins for this. They're free to be a part of as an agent, and you can put your homes on there. If they're not your listings that you're doing an open house at, you're going to have to depend on the other agent to get those open houses loaded up in there. Signs. Not tech, but again, you're going to have 8 to 12. I put them in here just as kind of the tools needed. Make sure you have 8 to 12 of them. You're always going to need them. to do open houses, so just go ahead and make that investment. So how much is this technology going to cost me? So an iPad's going to cost you around $200 refurbished. I think you can get into the new iPad minis for $300 or $350, something like that. So you're going to be out a little bit for a tablet. Most people have one anyway, so if you need to get one, go ahead and get one. You're going to be using it at every open house, and they're great to have too for showing clients pictures when you're out on the road. OpenHome Pro, it's $14.99 a month. I think it's billed annually, or $24.99 a month if you do month to month. It's going to be the backbone of what we use in the open house, so make sure you pick up a subscription to that. Signs are going to be around $300. I recommend Build-A-Sign just because they're great and they have really good bulk prices once you go over 3 or 6 signs. So I would get signs from them, and they hold up really well. So we're going to do our flyers too. They're around 60 to 70 cents a piece. You figure 10 to 15 of them per open house. It has your name and brand on them, so make sure you get those and hand them out. Some of these listings aren't going to be yours, but at least it has your face with the pictures on them. So if they're going to call somebody back, it's probably going to be you. Zillow, Trulia, and Home Finder, all are free to use on the web and in apps, so it's free. Make sure you get those. Business cards, not free, but they're pretty cheap, and just make sure you have enough of them to hand out to everyone you come in contact with at the open house and just in general. So for getting started, stop. You need to do this first. If you have listings, call them right now and schedule the open houses for the next month straight. You call John or Jane Doe and you say, hey, I need to, get this done. I want to go and book this stuff out. I want to market your home. Great. If you don't have your own listings, find out who the most productive or the listing agent has the most listings in your area, and just call them and say, hey, I want to hold the houses open. They're going to be delighted to that you're going to hold open houses for them, and they're going to want you to do it. Get your schedule locked down for the next month of every Saturday and Sunday doing at least one open house per day. So with the open houses, you can do them on Friday nights. You can even do 2 a day if you want to on Saturday and Sunday. Do like 9 to noon and 1 to 4. Just play around with it, but make sure you're doing at least 2 per weekend. And advertise immediately. Open houses digitally on all the consumer sites. The reason why we do that is, even though a month in advance is going to do you a lot of good, at least it's done, and it's going to be up there for the consumers to see. If it sells in the meantime, you can take it down, is what it is. Now that we've committed to our game plan, I sure we're going to get a client out of our open houses. So we're going to advertise on consumer sites. This is going to make or break your open house. If you don't own the listing, how many agent that does to make it happen at least 5 days before the open house? We got to advertise these open houses, and doing it the day before does not work. Be sure to advertise on as many as possible. You put it on the MLS. That's going to back into a lot of other sites, but make sure you get it on Trulia and Zillow. That's where 90% of people are going to go anyway, so make sure you have it on there. And different clients use different sites, so the more that you can load it on that you know about, the better. Play with the times at the beginning. I always do 1 to 4, usually. I'm going to say always, but usually I do 1 to 4 if I'm going to do an open house. If you live somewhere where there's a lot of activities in the afternoon, doing it in the morning, you're going to make sure that you're not planning it during, main event time, so kind of play with the times. Stay away from church times and big games, and don't try to compete with people's habits. Leverage the times that they'll typically be out and about or going to and from somewhere. So if you live somewhere where a lot of people go to church, then go ahead and, plan your open house from 1 to 4. If they get out of church at noon, eat lunch, and on the way home, then they're probably going to see your open house. So, kind of plant yourself where you need to be to kind of snag that traffic. So we're back in the MLS, and we need to load up some open house info. So we're going to add change. We're going to go ahead and change some information. So we can have a dummy program here. Obviously, there isn't 0 houses for sale in the area. So let's see. Let's go ahead and use this dummy one here. So we click on the open house, or on the property we want to have the open house on. So we click on open house. Now, like I said before, when it comes to open houses, I like to do 1 to 4 p.m. I feel like a lot of people like to take their weekends easy. and then get out later. Also, if you're in the Bible Belt, a lot of people go to church on Sundays, so you're probably going to get a lot of traffic, during the morning. Watch out for football season. If the game's at 3 p.m., do it 11 to 3. If the game's at 1 p.m., do it earlier. If it's at the night game, do your 1 to 4. You just want to avoid any major conflicts with your open house. So you got to kind of think ahead and plan. So I'm going to go ahead and add this one in. So we'll click add here. So I'm going to do the date. I'm going to do it for, I'll just pick one that's close here. Now, the cool thing about this is people see it online. There's so many do-it-yourselfers out there nowadays that it's amazing. They'll come in with their own, what's it called, notepads. And, I mean, these are the guys you're looking for, too, because they don't have an agent. They're going to take on the world themselves. And this is where you can deliver a lot of value to them at these open houses. Sometimes they're maybe not that serious. You get a lot of people that are out looking for, I don't know, I'm 6 months out from buying a house, things like that. So, sometimes, you got to throw them in the hopper. But this is how you load it up here. Now, I'm going to also show you how to load stuff up in Zillow and Trulia. Trulia pulls automatically usually, but they let you also manually put it in. Zillow, you do have to put it in yourself. So we'll go over that next. Okay, now that we loaded our stuff up into the MLS, what we're going to do here is we are going to load them into the consumer site. So what a lot of people don't understand is, consumers look on consumer sites to look at houses. I mean, they're here 99% of the time. Their agents aren't going to give them an open house list. They go and they go to Zillow, they go to Trulia, they're looking. And these are, what most people use to look at pictures and decide where they're going to go for the weekend. So it's very important not to neglect this. Now, if you're a new agent, you don't have any of your own listings, and you got to make that phone call to that agent that does have listings that you're going to, ask to let you hold them open, you're going to have to stay on top of them to make sure this gets done, or on their assistant, because obviously you're not going to have access to their accounts. Same thing with the MLS. You need to have them go in there, and that's the least they can do. You're going to hold the house open for them. You're going to market their home for them and their clients. So, make sure you get this done. Now, the rule of thumb is you always want this done at least at the very bare minimum 3 to 5 days before you have the open house. Anything more than 7 days, there's not really that much benefit other than really planning ahead. If I were you and I made that phone call to an agent and booked myself out for open houses for the next month, I would get them all loaded in that day. There's not a huge benefit of the home being advertised open for a month, because people are going to make that decision probably the week of, but at least it's done, taken care of, and all you have to do is concentrate on what you're going to do to make that open house great. So I'm going to go in here to the listing page here. And I'm going to go to edit it, and so I'm going to say that I'm going to add an open house. So pretty easy stuff. They make it pretty slick for you to do. And you just choose the times and you put them in here. Again, if these aren't your own listings, make sure the other agent that's letting you hold their homes open, does this and gets it done. Because this is going to be a huge deal. The people that come off the sign traffic, I usually find are more curious, usually, than the people that do their research online and really show up to get a showing. A lot of clients are also concerned about, well, I didn't have that many showings this week. Well, we had, 15 people at our open house Saturday and 10 people on Sunday. That's 25 people looking at the house. A lot of people don't have the time during the week to maybe get a showing, or if they don't have an agent, they're not going to schedule a showing. So those are pretty much kind of not the only showings, obviously, but a lot of people will just come during those times. So you need to explain that to your clients when you have listings that, if you're holding it open every week, they're going to have less. They're going to have less showings during the week, because a lot of those people are going to come see the house at that time. So I already got Trulia loaded up here. we're going to go to the agent hub, and we'll go to our little dummy account here. So on this one, you're going to edit the listing. So you got all this stuff, you got all your home facts, you can really do all that stuff in there. Now in the middle, here's what you want to do. So you want to add the open house. We'll keep it consistent. You actually remember what days you do them on, or what times you usually do them. So that's great. And so you can add more and more and more and more dates on this deal. And then basically just go to the bottom and just update for sale by agent. So now that we've put on the MLS, we're on Zillow, we put on Trulia. There's other sites you can put them on. A lot of them pull from the MLS, but these are you're covering a lot of bases doing this. So you just want to make sure that you are doing your due diligence digitally and getting that out there. All these places have apps. Zillow has an app, Trulia has an app, and people are just constantly looking on these things, trying to see what they can poke in on the weekend. So don't cut yourself short and waste your time by not making these open houses great by taking advantage of these free. All this stuff's free. It doesn't cost you any money to have accounts or agent accounts on these deals unless you're buying leads or something. So take advantage of it, leverage it, and you're on your way to having mega open houses. So let's talk about Open Home Pro. So this app will contain all the pictures and descriptions of the property and serve as our sign-in system at the actual open house. It has and gathers all important info about the property and your guests. So it's going to have the facts about the home, a little bit of description about the home, and it's going to ask questions of the guests when they sign into your open house. Custom questions can be made for your guests, which is really cool. So you can actually ask very specific questions for a specific property. That allows you to follow up more aggressively and effectively. So we're actually going to show how to set up an Open Home Pro listing online and then use it on your iPad at the open house in the next slide. All right, so now we're going to take a look at Open Home Pro. I'm going to go ahead and load up a home into Open Home Pro for us, just so we can kind of see how this works. Now, the online version we're looking at right now, like this is in my browser. This is where you're going to load stuff up, and this is where you're going to kind of make all your changes and stuff in here. So I'm going to go ahead and log on here to get us started. Now this also has a companion app that's on the iPad, and also it looks like they have it now on Android as well. So I'm going to go to create a listing. So we'll do go ahead and just put in the just kind of the basic stuff here. So I'm going to put in the prices. $1.5 million, and that's going to be around 6,000 square feet. Whoop. It's going to be just a regular home. It's going to be for sale. It's probably got 6 bedrooms, and it's probably got 5 baths. So in the description, what I like to do here is, like, if you have a listing or you're doing an open house for another agent, is go to their description in the MLS and just copy and paste it right in here. So I'm just going to put now, if you're a wordsmith and you're really good with words and you don't like the other agent's description that's in the MLS, you can do whatever you want. But what you want to do is basically paste that in there, and then you're kind of all set. Now, a couple things you can do here. If it's your listing, what you're going to want to do is get the Trulia or Zillow URL to put in there. I really don't like to do that because it kind of takes people and it shows other agents that are on there. So it'll show you as a listing agent, but it'll have like 3 or 4 other agents competing. So what I like to do is come back to this later on, and after I make this for Open Home Pro, it's going to kind of have a landing page that just shows the house and the pictures, and it only shows me. So I'm going to come back after I share this. I'm going to copy and paste that here, so it kind of loops. So if somebody, you know, goes and looks at that website, it's going to basically pull up just that one home and just my name on it. So we'll leave that blank for now. So basically, we're going to go to Publish and add photos. You have to bear with me. It looks like the internet's a little slow today. So you can drag and drop your files here. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shrink this guy up a little bit because I have some to put in here. And I'm just going to put a couple because it looks like it's a little slow. So I'm going to drag and drop. Pretty easy stuff. So basically, you want to use very high quality photos that are in here, and this kind of gives you the status of it. So you want to use your high quality photos. Load as many as you possibly can. People love photos; they like to look at them. That's why they decide to come look at a property. And if you're advertising this, like I also use this URL for my text messaging that goes on my sign, which we'll cover that in another module of how to use text marketing. I kind of do my own. I don't do the pre-packaged programs. One, I just like to keep it really simple, and I'll show you what signs I use, which are pretty awesome. They're not the regular super fine print and QR code and just the really, really busy ones. It just says text this to this for pricing and home info, and that's it. And I do it all myself. It's a lot better value. You get a lot more out of it, and you can really customize the text message, and it follows up with them every day for 3 days. So as you see, we got our photos, all of our photos on here, and that's what we got. So basically, now we'll go back to Edit Listing. So we have all that stuff. Now we go to like questions. So this is really cool. So you can pull out some other stuff in here. So this is what I like about this right here. So how'd you hear about the listing? You know, they could say the internet and signs and stuff like that. If you want to prove to yourself that your signs are working or that your internet marketing works, it'll give them a drop down for those answers. Do you have a home to sell? That's a good one too. If somebody's out to look at a house and they actually do have a home to sell, you might be able to list their home and show them properties to buy. I found that any feedback on the home for the seller, no one really responds to that. And you're there talking to them anyway. And the reason why you're using Open Home Pro is so you don't have to ask these questions, and you can just kind of get to know and build rapport with the clients that are there. So I kind of like get rid of one of these. Now we can basically. Are you pre-approved for a loan? So these are good questions here. The home address, that's a little much. So let's just go with these guys that we have here. And like I said, you can reorder all the stuff. I always put this one last just because it's not that important. Now we can create new questions. Now the cool thing about creating new questions are you can ask anything. So you really make it personal about the property or the area. Like how important are schools to you? Now I have a listing that's in a part of town that has maybe the best possible schools ever. So I can ask this question because I know that if they say very, which they are if they have kids, that I can go back to them in an email later on and say, you came here, you're looking in this area, the schools are awesome, you can just really show value doing that. Another one is say like say a new highway is going in. I actually have this going on as well. So how important is highway access? You know, and like you can just add these questions in to the deal, and you can do multiple choice, yes, no. You know, I like plain text. That way they can just, you know, put it in there. So you can, you know, put these in here wherever. But it makes them think when they're doing it that they're answering questions of high value to them, and then it makes it real easy for you to follow up. You could ask, how many bedrooms are you looking for? A lot of people that come into open houses, if they come off the sign, they don't exactly know that you have a 5-bedroom, 4-bedroom house. They're looking for 3 or 2, you know, or single level or 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And so just because they showed up doesn't mean that that's the house they're looking for necessarily. So you want to make sure that you have some questions built in there to kind of feel them out so you can, you know, maybe set them up with a search. You're going to have their email address. You're going to have their phone number. And if they say they don't have an agent, I'd set up a portal form, send it over, have a pretty broad one, and then ask, hey, did you get the listings I sent you? Did you like them? Do I need to modify the price? Do I need to modify the size, the bedrooms? But it gives you a jumping off point, and this helps you out with that. So this is kind of what it's going to look like when you're building this stuff at your home before you go out for the open house. In the next module, I'm going to show you what it looks like on the iPad when you select it and you start an open house, and then the questions they have to answer in that, and you can see what their experience is. And the best part about it is you're not the one asking the questions that could possibly make them defensive. If somebody walks in your open house and the first question you ask them is, are you working with an agent? They already know that you smell blood in the water, and they get very defensive, and they put their guard up because they don't want to be harassed. They're just trying to look at a house and go about their business. But if you have a table set up with your iPad and Open Home Pro set up on it, and they're answering these questions, you don't have to answer any of that. All you have to do is deliver value. Just, hey, how you guys doing today? This house has a pool. Are you looking for a pool? Or, oh, these floors are bamboo. They just newly got put in. And you just kind of talk about the house and deliver, again, like, you know, all the different upgrades and talk about the neighborhood and just really show off your knowledge of all the homes and the area. And they're like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. And not once are you asking a probing question of, is it worth it for me to talk to you if you have an agent or not? Or, you know, you're not sizing them up because you already had the program do that for you up front, and they're not putting that, you know, impression upon you of, you know, this is the guy that tried to harass me for my business. This is the guy that just knew the most about the homes in the area. So very good stuff. Next video we're going to show, I'm going to have Open Home Pro on the iPad, and you can kind of see how I swipe through, and I'll actually go through some of the process of what the consumer is going to go through, and you can see how it works. All right, so now that we got everything loaded into openhomepro.com, now we can kind of go in here and on our iPads, and we can start showing you like what's going on with what we're going to be doing at the open house where you have it set it up. So obviously you have the Open Home Pro, which is right here down in the corner. So I'm going to open this guy up, and let's see, we have our little lollipop lane is going to be here. So I'm going to select it, and basically we have all of our stuff in here. I'll go to another one that actually has some stuff on it. So basically it has all of our stuff in here showing how this is going to work. So I go to Begin Open House. So this is what they see. This is what the clients see when they stop by your table that's sitting, you know, either on the right in the entryway or right in front of the front door before they get in the house. And basically all they have to do is touch to sign in. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and touch here. I'll put in my name is Nick. My email is nick@30day.com. And continue on. So I have my phone number here. No, I'm not working with an agent. How soon am I looking to buy? Okay, 3 months, you know. How did I hear about the listing? Online. So I did find it out online. Do I have a home sale? No, I'm renting right now. Any feedback from the home seller? For the home seller, nice floors. I did like the bamboo. Is highway access important? No. I work in the area, so no big deal. Someone have that. So now that's saved. So now this is already goes back and it's ready to go for the next person coming through the open house. So what's cool about this is I can tap the home up here and I can end the open house. Or if I talk to this client while we're going through the house and there's nobody else in there, I can go add to visitor notes, and you know, I can add talk about Nick here. So Nick, nice guy, works locally, 3 kids, needs pool, light kitchen and floors. Prefers single level home. Now that's fresh in my memory, I can save that note. The note's added. And go back. I can get out of this. And now I'm ready to go again into my deal. Now, let's just say that's the end of the open house. So I'm going to hit my open home here in the top left corner. I'm going to go to end open house. So I got all my leads here. So I have all recent and hot leads. So let's go to recent. So let's go. So these are the ones that have been to here that we've messed with before. I'm going to go to Nick. And this is what it's going to show me. I have this data. It's going to go straight to my inbox. What's also going to happen is later that day, Open Home Pro is going to email that client for me with all my contact information, all the stuff I got, as far as like, you know, the house, the price and pictures and everything they came in on. It's just kind of like thanking them for coming over. So I still have all this stuff here. So they like the, you know, any feedback about the price, said nice floors, whatever. So they're not working with an agent. Great. I didn't know that because, you know, I was showing the house. This was doing the work. So I go home and I get to see this. Well, this is great. So they saw it online. Great. So I'm glad we put it on Trulia. How soon are you looking by 3 months? Okay. So he probably needs to get pre-approved. So we probably can go down that route. Is highway access important? No. Okay. So just a bonus, I guess, because this has a really good highway access. So when I went back and added the notes, I still have all this in here too. So the answers are new to me because the app was doing the work, and then the notes are for me. So, nice guy, works locally, 3 kids. Okay, cool. I remember this guy. Great. You know, I had 15 people today. I do remember this guy. This is a good lead. So, when I follow up personally the next day with my email, I can refer to all this stuff. It's like, thanks for stopping by. I know you're looking for a larger house for the 3 kids, and you're looking to enjoy that pool now that you're moving to Arizona. It sounds like you like the big kitchen and you like the bamboo flooring, but it also sounded like that you didn't like it having a second story. What I've done is I'm going to create a search for you that kind of what I feel you're looking for from what you told me, and you take a look at it and I'll follow up with you later. And then you can go ahead and send that stuff out to them on that. So that's, you know, and that's a quality lead, and that's how you're going to get a buyer inside of 30 days is by leveraging this type of stuff. So basically, we have this. The hot leads are just people that don't have agents, so that you can see all those from all the different ones that are loaded in here. The recent are just recent leads that have. I can export these leads as well, and so there's a lot of good things in the app. They have tutorials. I can manage my questions here. I can edit my account settings. I can sync it. If your iPad doesn't have cellular data, it'll just sync when it hits Wi-Fi. It stores it all in the app and suspends it until you hit Wi-Fi, and then it can send out the emails. It's great stuff. So again, this is Open Home Pro, and this is what does my dirty work at the open house. This is the one that's asking all the questions. This is gathering all the info, so I can just be me. I can be personable, and I can just deliver value to these potential clients coming through instead of, you know, looking for my in to find out if they're available or not for me to make money off of. You don't want to be, you know, the puppy dog agent that's following people around the house looking desperate. You want to be coming from a position of power. You want to be offering good, useful information. You want your mind to be, what can I give these people as they walk through the house that no one else is going to give them? So when they leave and I have their contact information, I can continue building on that, and I have a greater chance of making that visitor of the open house my potential client. So let's talk about signs. Where and when are we going to use signs? Have every entrance into the subdivision covered and every vein from those main entrances covered. 4 signs is not going to do that. You're typically going to need between 8 and 12 signs to canvass every possible route into your open house to catch the maximum amount of traffic. If there's a main road within a mile, cover that too. That's my rule of thumb. If there's a main road a mile away, you have to put it at that intersection. If it's 2, 3, 4 miles away, maybe you do that, but it's going to take a lot of signs to pull them off of that main deal. So if it's in a mile, flag it. That's my rule of thumb. And next one is hang a sign on the main yard sign, like a runner, saying open house. There might be multiple open houses in the subdivision, and you want to make sure that people can, identify your home. Now, you can get balloons and put on it. That usually works well, but you have to have something to flag it down, even if it's just a sign in the driveway, just letting them know that that's the one. What we're going to take a look at now is where we're going to place our open house signs when we do an open house. So sign placement and volume is very critical if we're really serious about getting the most out of these open houses. So I have my house here that I'm going to do, and I've already dropped the place marker. So I got the sign here at the end of the street to direct to the house. And I'm going to work my way out here. I got directed here. Here's an entrance going in, so I need to show that it's going this way, and I need to show from this entrance to go here. I got another entrance into this little neighborhood here that I have to have, and same thing right here. So a lot of agents will just stop and they'll just pull off of this. This is a pretty main street, it looks like, and they'll pull off of this to get their traffic, which, there's a decent amount of traffic, but as you pull out farther, what you're going to see is this right here is going to pull out of this neighborhood, coming out to here, where we can direct them up this road to this sign. Or if they're coming up this road from another main road, it directs them over. So you're getting quite a bit more traffic there. And then we also have a sign that's coming out of this neighborhood and off this road that we have an open house up this way. And then we have a sign down here as well that's directing all the way up. So you can see we have a full city block here. And this is another main drag that we have pointed down here. And then also one to get into this back neighborhood. So you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 signs out for this open house. Could you put out more? Yeah, you could. You don't have to get completely crazy with it, but as you can see, there's really not another main vein coming in except for off this main drag here and off this one down here. So as you can see, we're kind of nestled back here with our property. And then you can see where we kind of put the sign placement. So I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. But go ahead and get Google Earth. You'll put in your address. It'll give you this view. And you can see where the streets are and where you're going to plan on placing your signs. You can print this out. Put the X's or leave these dots where you're going to drop these signs. And it can give you the view. And if you have an assistant, you can actually give them the signs in the Google Earth thing so they can see where they need to put these signs to get the best possible foot traffic. Now, this is game day stuff. This is stuff we've already digitally advertised. This is just to pull the maximum amount of foot traffic through physically on the day of our open house. So, again, if you're doing 4 signs, it's not enough. 4 signs won't even get us all the way into the neighborhood here. So, like I said, we have full 11. Like I said, 8 to 12 is minimum of what you need to have to get a good open house going. So now it's game time. You've marketed to every consumer site. You have your flyers. Your Open Home Pro app is all loaded up, and your signs are up. Get there early. Don't be the guy that shows up to his own open house late. A lot of these people are looking at Zillow and Trulia, and they know that it starts at 1, and they're going to be there at 1 or maybe even 12:50, and if you show up at 1:10, it looks really bad. Get there early. Make sure you have plenty of time to set up. Get all the lights turned on. Get all the shades pulled. Get everything done to make sure you're up and ready to go. Set your table up at the entrance of the home or in front of the walkway just before they enter the home. It should contain your iPad, flyers, business cards. You're not only trying to get buyer leads, but you're also auditioning to be someone else's seller's agent. So sellers love an agent that has his stuff together and looks like they can sell a home. So a lot of people that are looking out to buy a home might be probably thinking about selling theirs if they haven't put up for sale already. And you looking professional, being ready to go, and having all this stuff set up to actively, sell this home or show this house is a good audition for that. So here's what my table setup might look like. You always want to put your table set up inside or outside the main entry. I've tried to put it back, like in the kitchen on the counter, And it's almost like once they get in the house, it's kind of like, why buy the cow if I get the milk for free? They've already seen the house. They don't want to sign in. They don't want to be followed up with. So make sure you get it before they get through the house. Ask every guest to sign in and grab a flyer. A lot of people try to sneak in. Make sure you're, in eye and ear shot of the door. And when people walk up, you're like, hey, please sign in right there on the iPad and pick up a flyer. Most will try to dodge it, especially if they're out seeing a lot of open houses and they don't want a bunch of agents harassing them. Just, but if you ask and tell them to pick up a flyer, you're giving them direction, you're going to have about a 90% success rate on that, I have found. So here's a setup I did once. It's just a cocktail table. I get a black tablecloth, make sure it's all ironed, looks good. And then I have those acrylic signs that hold like 8.5 by 11 inch papers that say, the one in front of the iPad says, as a courtesy to the seller, please sign in, with the iPad below, and has an arrow pointing to the iPad. The next sign actually has a card holder on it, so I have business cards in there, and then it has my property flyer propped up, glossy, looks professional and great, and then I have, 10, 12, 20 flyers sitting there for them to get. So as you can see, if somebody walked up to the front door, they're going to run right into that. It's kind of a barrier. And you just let them know, like, hey, go ahead and sign in, pick up your flyer, be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So let's talk a little bit about follow-up. So Open Home Pro automatically sends all clients a thank you note after they attend. But when you get home, you still want to send a personalized note saying, hey, I'm glad to see you. I can search for a few more homes based on what we were kind of talking about. And you can kind of, really kind of dig down a little bit deeper with a personal note. Always send additional emails with homes of the same size and area. If they say they liked the one they were in, maybe that one just wasn't for them. What I also like to do is not send them the complete address of the home. So like say it was 555 Lollipop Lane, I'm going to say, yeah, that area over in Lakewood, I think is, there's a great home right in there. You said you like that area. I'd love to show it to you. It's around the same size that you said you were looking for. And I don't give them the address. I'm using that to pull them into saying, oh, that sounds great. What's the address? Well, I'd love to set up a showing for you. And then that way you're kind of baiting the hook and then trying to get them out with you. Sometimes if you give them the address, you have a lot of do-it-yourselfers out there, and they'll go and they'll be like, yeah, it looks great. I looked at it on Zillow, and I'm going to go to the next open house. I'm going to talk to the next agent. So you want to, try to secure that down and being smart at how you communicate with them. The next one is, invite them to come see you at your next open house. So, there's nothing more personable than saying, hey, I enjoyed your company. I know you're out looking for a home. I'm actually at another open house next week. You should come check it out. And just make them part of your ecosystem or sphere of influence. Always have the lender's info handy. Pre-qual, pre-qual, pre-qual. And the reason why I say that is everybody wants to buy a house. Unfortunately, about 50% have the credit and the means to do so. So we kind of have to do our due diligence with the lender. Make sure you pre-qual early and often. That way you know if they can actually buy a house. And not that you're wasting your time, but even if it's a bad credit situation, most people can clean their credit up in 6 to 12 months. I have a credit bucketing actually. I put them right there, and I put the follow-up with them every 90 days. And like we're going to still be selling homes in 90, 180, and 365 days from now. So you just want to know what you're dealing with so you know how to handle that situation and maximize the moment and also maximize your future funnel. So let's review a little bit. So we learned how to leverage fellow agents to get open houses with a single phone call. This should be easy to do, and you should be able to go back to this well anytime to get open houses. We did set up open houses weeks in advance, and why that's important is just so it gets done. As long as you're doing it 5 days in advance, it's great. But if you know you're going to be there for extended periods of time or you have multiple houses, just get them all loaded up. We figured out how to market houses on Trulia, Zillow, and the MLS. We used technology to digitally manage our open house using Open Home Pro. And we let Open Home Pro ask the questions that we don't want to be asking because we don't want to put potential clients and visitors on the defensive. We learned how to upload, manage, and list your home digitally with Open Home Pro on the internet and also with the app. We mapped out signs appropriately in the needed locations using Google Maps to hold a successful open house. Very important. We also learned that we need to deliver at least 5 points of value to every visitor, whether that's tax information, HOA information, neighborhood info, community pool info, where the grocery stores are, anything that's not face value that you can really dig in and give them value. You want to at least deliver 5 points of value to every visitor. Ask appropriate questions that land by our clients. So we learned to ask questions like what size of home, or how many beds and baths, or is a pool important? Is the school districts important? Is proximity important? We want to ask those kind of questions, and not questions like, do you have an agent? Because that's about you, because you want to get them as a client. You want to ask questions about them so you can guide them down the path that best fits their needs when it comes to buying a home. We're also going to follow up with potential clients for maximal success. We learned that Open Home Pro is going to email people for us. We also want to follow up with them with specific qualities that we learned during the open house, and also follow up with them with vague addresses of houses we know they might like, so we can get them to get in the car with us to go look at property. We also learned that we need to pass them on to a lender to get pre-qualified. As soon as we know that we have someone that's going to ride in our car, potentially, they need to get pre-qualified by our lender. Or, we need to get, a pre-approval letter. And, we also learned that if you do have time in the open house, you can set up a search on the spot. We do have a video on how to set up a search. I think we did it for an expired and canceled for ourselves. Same thing for a client. If you're still iffy on how to do that, go to our video library and check that out. Thanks again for watching, guys. We have a lot of material on open houses, and all these videos are in the video library. Make sure you also go to our members center to get, Open Home Pro from there, or if you still need the CRM, if you still need Intellius, and all that stuff is held there. We're going to be updating this all the time with whether it's new technology or new pieces of literature or downloads for you guys to check out. So, again, thanks for your time. Always update yourself in the Members Center. If you have any questions, you can go to our Facebook members page. You can post questions there, where other agents are there talking about it, or send us an email, and we'll get you taken care of. Thanks a lot.